Hello, welcome back to FromSoftServe. Just want to update everybody on a new patch that has come out for the mod. It's patch 1.04. I just released it before recording this video. It was for an issue I caused myself and I didn't find out about until like an hour ago, that I caused a crash right here in patch 1.03. I upscaled the sky in Sense Fortress apparently a little bit too much, and it immediately made the game crash. I didn't like how big the texture was. So that was my screw up. And anyway, patch 1.04 is out now. It fixes this bug. It also fixes a couple, or like 5 things in Northern Undead Asylum, which is pretty sweet. It was like player brightness. The lantern was a bit weird somewhere. There were like a few objects that had the wrong lighting ID. But I will be fixing more things. One thing I do want to look at, now that I'm recording this, one thing I don't like is you can see how the fog setting for Andre's apartment definitely looks weird because it's using the Undead Burg fog setting, and then the Sense Fortress one obviously is vastly different. So you just get this unfortunate, like, it just doesn't look that good. It's really a hard one to fix too because you don't want to affect they're just separate maps that they're from, so their fog settings are just completely different. So I might up the fog setting a bit to match a little bit better to the Undead Burg one. But yeah, little strange. Don't worry about it. I did update the reshade preset a little bit. I think I updated that one. That was one of the more recent updates, was 1.03 of that. And it's just the RTGI goodness, which is subtle, but really cool and awesome. And you should try it out. But it's an optional extra. Let's go to Northern Undead Asylum. Really, this was the only thing that was fixed. It was right here that you would crash. It was just an instant hard crash. And I had to replace... I troubleshooted it by copying over one thing at a time. Like, oh, okay, the objects folder. Did that cause it? No. The maps folder, like for the textures for Sense Fortress, although that was the last thing I tried, and that's what fixed it. So the good thing is I have a good method for like troubleshooting it now, if anything does happen. Gadget. Let's load up DSR gadget. Because I was like, God damn it. Son of a... son of a bitch. Yeah, let's go do Northern Undead Asylum. Cell. Yeah, let's go to the cell, big dog. Yeah, a couple of these cells were set to the wrong lighting ID. And the objects inside of them were like super bright because they were set to a different object. It's a weird way that like the lighting ID is handled based upon the collision, that the collision handles the player and object lighting, but not the scene light ID. So it's kind of all inside baseball shit, but that's what everyone's here for. I also changed the brightness just slightly down here, so it's a little bit brighter, and you can kind of see the illumination from the torches that gets spread onto the environment. So that was a kind of a fuck up as well. Went a little too crazy on that. Let's head up here. Let's check out the RTGI though while we're here. Yeah, just add some really nice bounce lighting. Just more accurate. Super nice. So let's head down here. And it was the player light ID I had set to weirdly being too dark. So like when you were out here, your character was super dark versus the rest of the environment being kind of bright. And so I fixed that. That was just an oversight by me. And then the other thing is this statue is also on the inside of here. Like there's 3 or 4 on this side and then 3 on this side. I forgot to change their light ID to be the same as the rest of the room. So they were set on like 25 and I needed to change them to 23. So they stood out more than I wanted. So now they actually blend into the environment, which is a similar thing I had to do to these pots. So now they blend in pretty perfectly. That's something FromSoft was really weird with. They would always have their pots, all their objects, like pots and barrels and all that stuff, would always be set to a different light ID than the rest of the environment. And I think that was due to the fact that objects in the player are lit on the same light ID that you set through the collision, not what is set on the actual objects themselves. So it's an odd way that happens. So maybe that's why they did it. But I've had good luck setting it to the same light ID as the rest of the environment, so it naturally blends in. Even though that should, I don't know, it's confusing how that works or why that works, but it does. So the many peculiarities of Dark Souls modding. Now, one thing that's kind of persisted is this texture on the ground doesn't look that high resolution. And I've already changed or tried switching it out because I thought it was like hard coded, because I've already upscaled it, but it doesn't look very good. And weirdly, that didn't work. I changed it to a different name to kind of try to goof the game in case that was the issue it was having. Also, I've still not fixed the bricks here having that sort of white appearance to them. That it's like a specular issue because you can see it on the walls here. That's something I have not been able to eradicate just yet. It's very odd. You'll see it up here as well. So that's something I gotta look at the light ID for out here to see. There's one specific setting that is causing that, and I have not had luck yet actually destroying that. I've tried many different things, and it still persists. The other thing I want to talk about really quickly is, let's actually load up our web browser. That sounds like such a weird way of saying it. Let's load up our web browser as if we're in like Web 1.0 1995 or something. But let's go to Nexus mods. And something really cool happened recently. We go to Dark Souls Remastered. Just made your Estus to heal by percentage. Oh, interesting. So popular all time. You can now see that Dark Souls Re-Remastered has made it to the front page of the popular all time. That is crazy. And actually, it bypassed the Foggate randomizer as well, so it should move up another slot. And then from there, we're going to jump over the roguelike, the Mega Mule, new interface icons remastered. And then our ultimate target is to leapfrog the remastered visual overhaul, which is a great mod. Don't get me wrong. But the goal is to hop over that. And I think the next step is then to hop over the Dark Souls visual overhaul, because I want to be the #1 like remastered overhaul. Like, obviously my mod is the most broad-based overhaul remastering for sure in terms of what it does, but I also just want to be, I just want to be able to say that I have the #1 in terms of the remaster, because we obviously DSR texture, DSR 2020 has 316,000, so we're a ways off that. That's my ultimate goal, is to be #1. That's the goal. I'd love to be #1. I can't believe I'm on the front page of popular all time. The fact that I'm now essentially the 19th most popular Dark Souls remastered mod ever is unbelievable. I can't believe that. So thank you all for your support and the love. And it wouldn't be here without you. Like, I wouldn't have gotten to that point without my YouTube homies, my Twitter homies, Discord homies. It's because of you guys, you know? So I really appreciate it. Oh, we got Oscar in here. What's up, Oscar? Oh, is this guy? I think Oscar now, when he's like this, he has his old armor instead of the newer armor. It's really weird. I don't... Oh, yeah, and also you can see the specular issue in here as well. Ugh, it's so annoying. It's really weird because when he's sitting down, he has the upgraded Elite Knight armor. But weirdly, when he's standing here, he pulls from like a different texture group for his armor set. It's really weird. Yeah, there's different like character identification. Oh, I thought I was going to get hit by the ball. I just have PTSD on the getting hit by the ball. But yeah, so thank you a ton for all the love and support. The newest patch is out that fixes my own fuck up. Also, while I'm here, I will shout out. Well, it's going to sound bad, but I'm shouting out my own mod, which is kind of goofy. So for Elden Ring, I did put out a mod called Elden Ring Reshaded. It kind of does, it's basically the work that I had done on DSRR's reshade preset, the damp RTGI, and then we have the FGFX large scale perceptual obscurance, irradiance. Yeah, this is all stuff that I've been using for like months, and so using that I was able to apply it to Elden Ring, and so it darkens a lot of interiors, and then you can see that the light here is being based mainly on the fire, and the rest is darkened because of how bright the fire is. So that's actually one of the really cool RTGI type things. And then here's inside the catacombs, and you can see it's just way darker, but I feel like it's still like a natural dark, because obviously From Software has to brighten things for playability. And here I then show, here's what it is when you turn on the lantern in the exact same spot. So without the reshade, it looks like this. But with the reshade turned on, it's just a much more natural illumination from the lantern. And I think it affects the environment more naturally too. But you see it's a subtle difference. But you're incentivized to use the lantern. And that's what I really like about it. I still need to tweak this more because the way that the actual shader works with Elden Ring, and Elden Ring has 5,000 different environments, has a different time of day all the time, and then has massively different elevations. So setting up an actual RTGI shader is a fucking nightmare. It's unbelievable. The other thing I did is I uploaded a Lies of P mod, as I love this game and I'm on my third playthrough right now. I bought it on Steam, so I was able to actually mod it. But yeah, I found out, now this isn't like new, there's another mod that turns out had already done this, but I still thought it was cool, that if you go into the game user settings, this is part of the mod that I released. If you go into the game user settings.ini file, you can actually enable settings that are beyond the max settings in game. And so on the left here is the max shadow setting in game. And then this is after modifying that config file to basically put it to what the game considers cinema or scene, C-I-N-E. And so you see the shadow resolution gets boosted quite a bit. And that has to do, and the reason I found that out, even though there was a mod that already did that, but I didn't know that, is that I was looking into the actual .pak files for Unreal Engine games, which this is an Unreal Engine 4 game. So I was unpacking those pack files, and I found the config file, but not just the config file. The config file that you see in your config folder, the game user settings.config file, or .ini, is actually, part of it is referencing the scalability groups file. And that's the file I actually found. So the scalability groups is what controls what the in-game graphic settings do. And so once I opened up that file, that's where I found that they have the like 0, 1, 2, 3, those different numbers indicating different levels of graphic settings, right? Or fidelity. And then they had the setting number 4 for each, which they called CINE. And I was like, oh shit. So there is that hidden extra one. So you go back to your game user settings, you can turn each different one to 4 to unlock that extra setting that by default they have turned off. And I just thought that was cool. So I basically did that, and then I changed it to 4 for the texture anisoptry, for the anisotropic filtering, and then the textures I also put to 4 just for like max LODs, I guess. So the mod has a reshade preset for RTGI, and it actually, I think, works the best in Lies of P versus like even Elden Ring. As you can see here, when it's off, I think it still looks amazing. But when you turn it on, you get this nice illumination added to the actual desk. And then it adds this nice bounce lighting. It adds a little bit of shadowing underneath the table, which would be natural from the light hitting it and then occluding underneath it. It's really nice. It's my favorite thing to add to games is this RTGI shader. And I'm so excited for damp RTGI to get updated further. As this is just like an earlier version. They're still working on damp RTGI, but it's so fucking good. It's so good that I'm actually adding it to games because most RTGI shaders I have not had much luck with, but this, like, look at the light that's being added from the street lamp here. The illumination now underneath this. Oh, it's so good. It's so much more natural, and the rays bouncing around and then adding that. It's good enough that, like, I don't know. I was always so hesitant of like post-process related GI, but this shader is so good, and I'm tuning it for each different game because you go in there and there's like hidden settings and there's super advanced settings, and I'm going in there and you have to toggle each different thing to maximize the visual quality of it, but also denoising it at the same time, but also not degrading the overall look of the game. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. But yeah, so there's some look at some other things I was working on. Future versions of this mod for Dark Souls Re-Remastered, flying back to that. I also just realized these bricks are floating. Son of a bitch. Actually, I think everyone's floating. I definitely want to look into rebaking some of the lighting so I don't have to rely on dynamic shadows as much. Because baking like GI could be really cool. That'd be a way of like just baking better shadows versus where I went to mostly dynamic for the mod. So that's sort of an idea I want to toy around with. Upscaling any textures I forgot about, any more hard-coded ones that, like, because the game is pretty big for one person, so I presumably missed some hard-coded textures. Oh yeah, look at that little issue. Oh, that's with the RTGI shader. Okay, got it. Duly noted. Oh yeah, it's having an issue with the distant mountains. Okay, I can fix that. And working on the reshade preset a little bit more. Beyond that, remeshing more things. I'm in a holding pattern a little bit. There's certain things that I want to edit, like in Blender, but unfortunately if I edit them in Blender, it fucks up any parallax occlusion mapping that is on any surface. And so I'm in a holding pattern right now waiting for Blender Soulstruct, the main plugin I use on Blender to edit these things, to be updated so it doesn't break the parallax occlusion mapping anymore. Because once I do that, I want to remesh a lot more things and up the basically the poly count on a lot of the game. Like there's a lot of things in the game that are very like low polygon count, and I would love to remesh them just a little bit to make them higher poly without fucking up a lot of things. So right now I'm in a holding pattern waiting for that to be fixed, which I'm sure Grim will absolutely fix that. He's very busy with the Elden Ring mod and then Dark Souls Nightfall mod, so I'm okay waiting, right? In the meantime, I will just fix other bugs that I find, continuing to tinker with the cutscenes, as I have made big improvements in them, but they're still not absolutely perfect or where I 100% want them to be. But yeah, so more updates coming for the mod. Keep reporting bugs if you find them. Luckily, there hasn't been like as many as I thought there would be. I fixed one this morning. That's why I'm making this video of the patch 1.04 that I put out super quick, because I was like, oh shit in my ass, damn it. Oh, I just found more bad UV mapping. Yeah, look at that little brick there. So it's things like this where the little bad UV mapping from the unmodded game I have to fix. There's a lot of issues in the game actually with like texture transitions, and there's just so many cases of like, ugh, that doesn't look great. And so I'm in a holding pattern with the Blender Soulstruct. Once that's updated and I know it won't fuck up the parallax occlusion mapping, I can go through and edit a lot of that to make it more cohesive and kind of fix how it looks, because there's quite a bit of shenanigans going on with UV mapping and textures in the base game that I fixed already, but I want to fix more of them. But I don't want to affect my parallax occlusion mapping because I fucking love that shit. And I want to add that to more surfaces as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. Yeah, actually, this is a good example of texture shit. You can see this little, like, there's different shading on it. And I kept looking into this, and I couldn't figure out why this was shaded differently. It didn't seem like an MTD thing. It wasn't like a texture thing. I'm just like, damn, is it light map? But then presumably they should be using the same light map because they're right next to each other, so that doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it's things like that, little fine-tuning of things that maybe not everyone notices, but I'd like to keep tinkering on this mod forever and just keep improving it. So thank you for the support, the love, making the first page of the most downloaded Dark Souls Remastered mods ever. Surreal as fuck. Recently, by the way, Lobos Jr. was playing the mod, so if you want to check that out, really awesome. And then Prod was also streaming the mod, and I did a whole playthrough and posted a video, which is awesome. Definitely check that out. I was in the chat for both streams for some of them, saying really stupid things, as per usual. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.